Hello friend, thank you for joining me. My name is Ron. I am with CamMastery.com where you can go to learn how to make great videos with Camtasia. It is Sunday, and on Sundays I like to spend some time answering some student questions. And so I usually, but not this week, will take student questions and I'll collect them and then answer them. But this week we're going to do something a little different. And you probably know that my good friend Lon Naylor has been answering lots of questions for me. And so what I've done is last week and this week I've compiled the top 10 things that Lon has shared with me over the last 6 months or so. And I want to share them with you because they were just in the comments and it's all good stuff, right? Lon's been doing this for a long time. He's a mentor of mine. If you're interested in learning about Lon's YouTube channels, he has a couple of channels and they're both listed in the description below. So be sure to check that out. Check those out. Check them both out. So today, 5 topics I want to go over. The first is on exporting a frame, locking tracks versus hiding tracks, and when we would choose one over the other. Semi-transparency, and using that for positioning. Mirroring the waveform. And lastly, the canvas dimensions and how we set those at the beginning. So let's get started with this first item, adding an exported frame. So one of the things you can do if you're in Camtasia is you might want to freeze a frame. And freezing a frame is no big deal because, whatever you have on the screen, let me change that. If you have a screen recording and you want to freeze that, no problem. You can just freeze that and extend that frame for as long as you want. But there will be times where you want to take everything on the screen. And so that would include any kind of graphics, annotations, anything that you added, images, whatever, sketch motion, all on the screen at the same time. So there's a way to do that. And Lon was kind enough to show me that. And if we go over to Camtasia, we can just go to our playhead and right-click the playhead. And when we do that, and I'll zoom in down here so you can see that a little easier, there's an option for Add Exported Frame. So this is something, I don't remember how new this is. It's relatively new. But if you right-click the playhead, you can get all of the things that are right here. So in this case, I don't have too much. I have this sketch motion, I have a call out, I have an image, and I have my video here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 different things I can get all in one image. So again, I'll just right click and I'll choose Add Exported Frame. So when it does that, now I have time frozen right here. And this is a frame that is just completely frozen with everything all in one image. And then you may have noticed that it also added an item up at the top. So it shows me here that this is, it's called starting because that's what I named this project, and it gives me the timestamp for that. And if I want to know where that is, and you can't see that, so let me zoom back out. So here at the top, this in my media bin, it says starting. And if I right click and go to open file location, I can see that it is here in the same folder where I'm working. So what I did to start this was I saved my project in a specific folder, and when I saved it, I put it, when I saved it, then when Camtasia created this frame, it said, oh, I'm going to put it in the same folder that this project is in. And so thankfully, TechSmith was smart enough to say, hey, you probably want to keep everything together. And yes, of course we do. So those will be there. However, if this was a new project, then it would just save it inside the documents and what is it? Documents, Camtasia, I think. I think that's where it would be. I thought I had that open, but yeah, if we go real quick, documents, Camtasia, yeah, it would save it in here. So you can see here are a few untitled projects. So whenever I did an export and different days throughout the year, there they are. And like I said, it would only put them there if you didn't save them. So that is our first question. Or not first question, but that's our first item, was adding an exported frame. It'll go to Documents Camtasia by default, but the other nice thing is it adds it to the media bin and the timeline. Both, it's ready to go. It saves it for you right there in your project folder. Okay. Lesson number 2 from Lon, locking tracks versus hiding tracks. So in this particular video that I was working on, I said there were some tracks above. Let me think if I'm doing this in the right order. Okay. Yeah, when accessing a lower track. Okay. So there were some tracks above, and I wanted to, what I was doing was hiding a track and it might be better for you to lock the track instead. I just tend to hide because I'm like, just get everything else away. Just get rid of everything and let me just see the thing that I need. That isn't always the best way to do things. So let me just read this real quick. When accessing a lower track and needing to see the upper tracks, you can choose lock instead of hide. Okay, so an example, let me just check something here real quick. Yeah, okay. So if I go back over to Camtasia, I'll delete this. I don't need that frame, that frozen frame. That's a funny face. There we go. That's a little better. What I can do is, an example would be, I'm working on this particular callout. And as I work on this, what I do is I animate this. So let me show you here. I'm going to right click. Nope, you can't see it. Let's try that again. There we go. Now you're on the screen with me. So we'll go over, and I just want to work on this sketch motion here. So what I would do, I'll start by just removing all the annotations that are here. So I'm right-clicking the element that has all the animations, excuse me, not annotations, animations, and I want to remove all of those. So I'll go to remove all animations. Now they're all gone. So this is where I start. And what I do, one of the animations I do is I'll go to a certain place. I'll click on this sketch motion, Shift A, and then I'll peel this down and peel this up. And so then what happens is, as I play through this, it flips over. There we go. And that's kind of quick. I would probably make it more of a second, right? So that as I play through this, when it goes through, it's a little bit more, there we go. It takes a little time and it just flips over. And then later in the presentation, I do the same thing, Shift A, and then I want to flip it. So what I was doing before is I was clicking and dragging it down. I'm like, oh, I grabbed the wrong thing, and it makes me mad, right? Because I don't want to grab that thing. So I'll do Control Z to undo. Juan's trick was, rather than hiding all these things, you might want to see them. So just lock what you're accidentally clicking on. So I don't need to move this outline. I don't need to move this white callout that's back here or my video. So instead, I'll just go down here to the lower left and I'll lock all of these. So I'll lock the outline image. I'll lock the callout. I'll lock my video. And now when I zoom back out, and I look at these, if I try to click any of these, I can't. I can't click and drag. I can't move any of them. But when it's time, I can click this item and drag it and move it. So I would do something like this for the next animation. I don't know if I did that right, but let's see. Yeah, so it goes through and it'll be a little faster than I want, but then it just flips to the next thing. So that's what I'm looking for. Again, if I click any of these other things, I can't select them. The only thing I can select is my sketch motion callout in this case. So it's a really handy feature if you are trying to just work with a specific item and you might have a lot of different things all around. Lock the other things that are around it and then be able to use that one, just work with that one track and not accidentally grab something else. Now the next item, the next lesson that we have is semi-transparency. So with this, we were talking about creating a circle track mat over top of my head. And I said, well, I'm going to put this circle, but I don't know exactly where it needs to go. So I'll hide it, and then I'll look, and then I'll bring it back, and I'll unhide it, and then I'll hide it, and I'll bring it back. So I kept going back and forth between hiding and unhiding. So Lon said, why do that? Why not just make it semi-transparent? Which, duh, yes, that's brilliant, and also very much common sense, but I didn't think of it at the time. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'll jump back over to Camtasia. And here I said, I want to put my head in a circle, for example. So I'm going to use a track mat for that. I will unlock all of these. I want to put that, since I want to use a track mat and use it on this track 1, what I'll do is I'll insert a track above this. So I'm right-clicking the track. Let me just show you that real quick. And I said I want to insert a track above track 1. Now I have a place for that. So I'll zoom back out. And then I want to add an annotation. I specifically want a circle. So I will go to Shapes. I will go to the Style Basic Bold, and then I have this circle, and I'll grab that and drag it over. And then the thing that you'd want to use is this semi-transparency. So just grab this opacity of the fill and drag it down. Make it semi-transparent. So I'll make it somewhere around 50% or so, and then I'll resize it. Now, in order to keep it as, excuse me, as a circle, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and drag this out. So now it stays as a circle, and then I can see exactly where it is. And I say, oh, well, I actually want this up here a little bit, to the right a little bit. And maybe that's exactly where I want it, something like that. So then my head is in this circle. So then once I have it positioned where I want, now that I have this opacity or have it semi-transparent, I can bump the opacity all the way back up. And then I can, I'm going to grab this and drag this back down. There we go. So making sure that this is nice. Control Z, I'll undo that. Yeah, I want it to be on the track above. So I'll just stretch this out for as long as I need. That might be the entire project. And then I'll right click the eye icon, choose alpha, and now my head is in this talking circle throughout the entire video. Okay, and like I said before, what I would do, I'll just use Control Z to undo this, is I would say, maybe is it like here that I want it? I don't know. Let me disable. No, and I click back and forth. No, I need it up a little higher. Okay, so let me move it up a little high. Maybe I want it a little bigger. Let me just make it a little bigger. Is this the right size? All right, let me see. Let me just click back. No, maybe that's a little too big. Okay, let me make it big. Right, so rather than doing all that, just drop it down, get it the size and location you want, something like that. Once you have it, bump it back up, set up your alpha, and there you go. You're all set. Okay, so that was the third lesson. I think that was the third lesson. The next lesson that Lon likes is on a mirrored waveform. So this isn't something that I use, but it's something that Camtasia did years ago. So the earlier versions of Camtasia would mirror the waveform. What does that mean? Right now, if we look at Camtasia and we see a track, there are peaks, like mountains or whatever that appear, and the audio is sitting at the bottom of the track. All right, and so that's all we see. Instead, what Camtasia used to do was in the middle of the track, it would put like a 0, if you want to think of that as like silence. And then as things got louder, then you would see the peaks go both up and down. So we can do that in Camtasia. Let's take a look. So here you can see I have that audio set up. It might be a little hard to see. I'm actually going to drop my audio gain down so you can see this a little easier in this clip right here. So here it is. And what I'm going to do is go to Edit, Preferences, or you can use Control, Comma, and in the Program tab, we have this checkbox to mirror waveform. And I'll click OK. And now notice that again, right there in the center, I'm going to zoom in so you can see this a little easier. Right in the center is like 0, and then the wave goes up and down. The audio goes up and down. And it's done that across. So it might be easier for you to see things like, I'll zoom in a little bit here. It might be easier for you to see things this way, right? You can see where the pauses are. So there's some silence down there. A little hard to use this as a pointer, but that's okay. Also, a little bit of silence here, or maybe a breath. And what I can do is just see perhaps things a little easier with the waveform mirrored. If I go back and show you what that looks like, I'll just zip back out, Edit, Preferences. I'll turn that off and click OK. And then when I go back down, this is what it looks like without that. So it's up to you. I don't know what's going to be best for you. Maybe you prefer to see the peaks and valleys. Maybe you prefer to have the middle and have it grow and shrink as the audio goes through. Whatever you prefer. Like I said, my preference, I like to leave things there at the bottom. Lon likes to use the mirrored waveform. It's easier for him to see the audio. You decide. It's your program. You customize it how you want. So Control, Comma, or Edit Preferences, and then just mirror the waveform. And next, this is the last one. This is lesson 5, or maybe I guess technically lesson 10 since I did 5 last week. But here, this lesson is about using the canvas dimensions. So there have been many times for myself, and probably for Lon as well, where I have started projects and I started it with the wrong dimensions. So I laid out everything. I got the video where I want, and I got the annotations where I want, and I timed everything and cut and pasted all this stuff. And I got it all ready, and I went to produce it, and I had it set at 1280 by 720 instead of 1920 by 1080. All I did was I started with the wrong dimension, but didn't realize that I was working in a smaller form factor, I guess, and I needed the larger one. So Lon says one of the first things he does is sets those properties. Let me show you. Let me go into Camtasia and show you how you could mistakenly do this. So if I go over to Camtasia, and I'll just do a File, New Project, Save Changes, No. So it comes up, and we have this canvas, But if I want to, let's say I want to import media, and I have this lightning that I used, I'll just double click the lightning, and I will add to the timeline at the playhead. So it brought that in, but do you see what happened with the canvas? The canvas actually resized to the item that was first brought in. So here, if I go to project settings, it's telling me that my project is set up to be 150 by 310. That's not anywhere near what I want, right? So I need to say, no, I'm going to go into project settings. I'm going to come up here and I say, I want to work in 1920 by 1080. So I'll pick that and then I'll apply it. And now I can see that that item, I can put this bit of clip art or whatever anywhere I want on my screen, and my screen is set to 1920 by 1080. Another thing I'll do is I'll do a save as, and I'll create a folder for this project. So right at the beginning, if you have the right dimensions, then you probably want to go in, you'll find the folder you want, you'll right click, say you want a new folder. So I'll say new folder, and this is my, project folder. It's a horrible name, but this is a demo, so it doesn't matter. I'll go into the project folder, and then this is my demo V1. So I always start with a V1, and then of course, as I work through, I'll say, okay, well, I'll make several changes. There we go. There are my several changes, and I'll do save as. I'll say, nope, not V1. I'll go to the end, save it as V2. And then I have V2, and then I make all the edits and things, and then a save as to do V3. So those are some lessons that I have from Lon. Let's see. Oh, and then I have a comment here from Muhammad who says, I took your Udemy course and I really like the way you teach. Thank you very much, Muhammad. I appreciate that very much. If folks are interested in that, they can go over to cammastery.com/store and find the Camtasia Mastery course. I enjoy it. I try to keep lessons as short as possible so you can go in and find exactly the lesson that you need. So hopefully that's helpful to folks. I know that, when you have these very long lessons, you don't want to try and go through 20 minutes of video to find the one thing you need. So what I did was I just created, it's literally like over 200 videos that just show, one little thing at a time and go through that way. So again, thank you, Mohammed, for that. If you have questions, hey, leave me a question. Drop a comment below and let me know what you're interested in knowing. I have right now 3 questions already lined up for next week. So for now, I just want to thank you very much for coming by and learning with me and just finding out a little bit more about what Lon was able to teach me and hopefully teach you as well. So like I said, if you have comments, you have questions, leave those in the description below and I'll get back to those next week. Until then, take care. So long.